Hey everybody, welcome back to this random journey. Today we're going to be making black bean burgers. So first you want to make your homemade vegetable stock. Here I'm just taking my homemade vegetable stock out of my pressure cooker, and that is just a mixture of all of my vegetable scraps put in there with a whole bunch of seasonings. If you'd like a video on that, I can make that later on, but right now just use some vegetable stock. So after you have that vegetable stock made, I just go ahead and I add 2 pounds of my black beans into my pressure cooker. Now they will only take about, I think, 50 minutes to cook. So you're just going to put that lid on there, close that valve, and set your timer to 50 minutes. So after the black beans are cooked, you're going to open it up, just test them. They need to be very soft, so just test them, make sure they're really soft. I usually just do that by stirring them. I kind of can feel by the consistency. And then after you have tested them to make sure that they are really soft, you're going to drain off all that liquid and you're going to give them a really good rinse. Alright, now that you have them rinsed, you're going to put them into your food processor and you're going to make them basically a paste. You're going to stop it and scrape down the sides every once in a while just to make sure that all the beans are getting incorporated really well. So once it gets to this consistency here, where it's basically just a paste, you're going to go ahead and take it out of the food processor and you're just going to put it into a bowl. And like I said, just finish off all those black beans. This is going to make quite a bit. So now we have all of the black beans pureed, and we're going to add in some onion powder and some garlic powder. Basically use any seasoning that you like. I like to add turmeric a lot of times. I didn't do that this time, but a lot of times I'll add that in there. Just whatever you're liking at the time, use that. I'm also going to go ahead and add in some cayenne and some black pepper and of course some salt, and do this all to taste, however you prefer it. Make sure to taste the black beans after you get this incorporated really well, just because it's going to give you a really good idea of what it's going to taste like once it's cooked up. I just like to taste it at this point before I add anything else. And I'm going to go ahead and add some onion. And to make sure that that is really small, we're just going to use that food processor again and really blend it up and just scrape down those sides every once in a while. I'll just get it really small because you want it to be small pieces. You don't want to bite into a big chunk of onion. Maybe you do, I don't know. But particularly I don't like to bite into big chunks while I'm eating my black bean burgers. So just puree those up and make them the right consistency and size for the burger. So here they are, diced up nice and small. We're going to add those on into that puree of black beans and all of our spices. You could also add in like corn or anything like that. It would be really good probably. I'm going to add 2 cups of quinoa. You could also probably use rice or something like that. My kids particularly don't like quinoa, but in black beans they will eat it, and because it is pretty healthy, I like to try to add that in. I'm going to add in some crushed up saltine crackers. Now you can also use breadcrumbs, which I will add breadcrumbs later on in this video. I just, for some reason, forgot that I had breadcrumbs in the pantry, and so decided to use some of my saltine crackers. So either way is fine. You can use saltine crackers or breadcrumbs. I prefer to use my breadcrumbs just because it's a little bit more cost effective, and it's because you use so much of them. I don't have an exact amount, but it's just a consistency thing. Here I'm using 2 large eggs. These are organic, farm fresh from my grandma's house actually, and that's just for a binding agent. Now I'm going to be looking into using some kind of a chia seed with water mixture. I've heard that you can use that as a binding agent, and I would love to try that. Here I am adding those breadcrumbs that I talked about earlier. They, like I said, I like them a lot better, and you're going to use a lot of breadcrumbs. So here I am using the mixture I just mixed up. Forgive my pitiful little plastic. I was trying to conserve. We don't actually buy plastic wrap anymore, so I had cut a piece of plastic off of a bread wrapper, and I didn't cut it big enough, so I will later on, you'll see a better piece of that. But so here's the consistency issue. I didn't have enough breadcrumbs, so they were extremely sticky. Now if you run into the problem where they're extremely sticky, just add in those breadcrumbs like I did here. Stir them in really good to where it's more of a solid, and you're going to use your apple plastic that I just have here. This is my bigger, and make sure your plastic's big enough that you can just fold it in half like I do here. And I'm using a mason jar lid to be able to pop it out really easy. And you just pat it, and then you just plop it onto your I'm putting it onto a cookie sheet here because I'm going to be freezing them in the freezer. And here they are on the platter after I've gotten them all ready, and I have frozen them, and they're solid at this point. And I'm just going to let you guys see how they kind of cook up. So I just oil my pan up really good, and then I place the frozen patties into my cast iron skillet. Now, does it have to be cast iron? No, that's just what we use. Let it cook, and then you're going to test them to see if they're brown enough. I flipped this one a little early and it wasn't quite brown enough, so I waited, and then I tried this one, and it was a little bit more brown, and I was really impatient and ready to eat, so I wound up going ahead, and I think I went ahead and flipped all of them because I was just so impatient and hungry. They do brown up really well. Make sure you just let them sit, because if you start fiddling with them like I was, you're not going to get that really brown texture that you're wanting. But anyways, I hope you guys liked this video. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and I'll see you next time. So I'm going to add in some cayenne pepper. Really, you can add in any kind of spices that you like. I like a variety of spices, so just make sure that you're using whatever you like. A lot of times I'll add in some turmeric. I don't know whether I actually did that this time. I think I skipped that part, but turmeric is really good. And that was just some salt, pepper, that kind of stuff. So just to your seasoning, whatever you like. It's nothing specific, just make it to your taste and whatever you really like. So now we're just going to stir this up and get it really incorporated really well and taste it. And here I'm just going to add in some onion. Now, you don't have to add an onion, but you can do any kind of add-in. Just make sure that they're small pieces, diced really small. I think corn would be really good in this. Also, you could do like green peppers or anything like that. So just make sure you dice whatever you're going to put into it really small and you should be fine. So again, it's just kind of a whatever you want to do kind of thing. Just make sure it's really small.